Hey Cowboys Nation, let's go for another round of news from America's team. Watch until the end so you don't miss any news and sign up to stay tuned for everything that comes out about the Cowboys.
Could require Brandon Aubrey to get involved in tackling more. This offseason, the NFL adopted an entirely new kickoff. It is literally a game-changing adjustment. The main inspiration for the new kickoff is how the play was utilized in the XFL. Upon the announcement of the change, there were a variety of discussions and points of analysis on it. This is a good one to watch. While the sport of football is not a stranger to the format, the NFL obviously is, which means we do not have any sort of data to base anything off. A kickoff is still a kickoff in some sense, but we are going to see what skills and strategies work in this new world that we may not have considered in the run-up to it. Brandon Aubrey could be required to tackle more in the new kickoff era. As far as general kicking is concerned, the Dallas Cowboys are fortunate to have one of the league's best in Brandon Aubrey. Aubrey was one of the bigger surprises of last season and figures to be an important element of the team in his second season. The new kickoffs will certainly impact him as he is the person who executes the kick. Not every place kicker handles the duties for their NFL club, but most tend to do so. While Aubrey's opinions on the new format remain to be fully heard, the league's undisputed best overall kicker in Justin Tucker of the Baltimore Ravens said recently that he has been looking to add strength because he may be required to be involved in tackling more often. Tucker has made his living as one of the most dependable kickers in NFL history, but as was the case for most every kicker, the kickoff became an irrelevant play due to rule changes implemented to make it safer. Those adjustments resulted in fewer returns, reducing it to little more than a ceremonial change of possession. Now, though, Tucker might need to tackle occasionally, especially if return teams can effectively create running lanes for their returners. Like you said, we are in the lab, and more recently, my lab has actually been the weight room, Tucker said. This might be really surprising to a lot of you guys and a lot of my teammates because I don't tend to hang out in the weight room too frequently. But after watching a lot of these XFL plays over the last couple years, the kicker seems to be involved in 20 to 25% of the tackles. So I've mixed it up a couple of times. I've gotten in there. But now I've got to get some more shrugs, get the traps going a little, but just to make sure I'm prepared for a little more contact. Kickers like Tucker are tried and true weapons for their teams in a point-scoring sense, and Aubrey certainly falls into that category given his stellar rookie campaign. While the scrum of the new kickoff may require them to get more involved in tackling, it stands to reason that their coaches may not necessarily want to see that. But if Tucker is indeed preparing for that potential, then it would serve literally every other kicker to fall in line. Nobody prepares like him, as he is arguably the greatest kicker in NFL history, so hopefully Brandon Aubrey is taking notes of his own. Cowboys trade proposal flips CeeDee Lamb for 2 potential star WRs. It is possible, however outlandish it might seem now, that the Cowboys and wide receiver CeeDee Lamb will continue their game of contract chicken into NFL training camp, have it morph into a holdout from Lamb, and ultimately create so much negative energy that Cowboys brass finally decides to chuck it all in and simply trade Lamb elsewhere. Long shot, no doubt, but also possible. Lamb did not show up for mandatory practices last week and could be fined around $100,000 for the decision. Those fines will continue if he goes into training camp without a new deal, at which time it is a safe bet that Lamb will continue to be a no-show holdout. As long as the tumult continues, there will be the chance, however slim, of a trade. It is in that spirit that Bleacher Report put forth a post titled 4 Trade Packages for CeeDee Lamb That Cowboys Couldn't Deny Amid NFL Holdout, featuring packages from the Patriots, Steelers, Chargers, and Packers. And while the offers are all interesting in their own way, we can safely assume that the Cowboys could certainly deny each one for a player of Lamb's caliber. Cowboys could get 2 for 1, plus a pick. The Packers offer is probably the best of the bunch, because it offers the Cowboys, who are decidedly thin at receiver behind Lamb, 2 players who have the potential to develop into stars. The offer goes, Cowboys get Romeo Doubs or Christian Watson, plus Jaden Reed and a 2025 second-round pick. pick. Packers get CeeDee Lamb. The appeal for the Cowboys is obvious. Both Dubes and Watson have shown the potential to be number one receivers in the NFL. Dubes caught 59 passes for 674 yards and 8 touchdowns last year. And Cowboys fans surely remember the 6 catches for 151 yards and a touchdown he put up against Dallas in the playoffs. Watson has a higher ceiling and is one of the fastest players in the league, 4.37 40-yard dash in college. But Watson has been plagued by hamstring injuries in his career, which has been limited to 20 games in 2 seasons. Reed is the bigger prize, as he excelled from the slot in his rookie season and would fill Lamb's role, only without the mega contract. Here's what writer Brad Gagnon had to say about it. We're presenting the idea of Dallas landing one primary slot guy to more directly replace Lamb, Jayden Reed, along with one of 2 talented but generally disappointing outside figures. All come cheap right now, and the Cowboys would be foolish to turn away from them, as well as some day 2 draft capital ahead of such an odd-looking season. CeeDee Lamb may match Justin Jefferson. Lamb is still waiting for a new contract to materialize with the Cowboys, a process that should get a jump start now that the other major franchise receiver, Justin Jefferson, has agreed to a deal with the Vikings. Jefferson signed a 4-year, $140 million contract this week, making him the league's highest-paid wide receiver. It is unclear if Lamb will insist on getting more than Jefferson or will take a contract worth a notch below. Most likely, he will wind up in the same ballpark, perhaps with less guaranteed money. Lamb and Jefferson might well be neck and neck as the best receivers in football, or at least the best in the NFC. He is coming off a year in which he led the league with 135 receptions and totaled 1,749 yards. In all, he has averaged 78.0 yards per game in his career and had 102.9 yards per game last season. Lamb was tied for 4th at Pro Football Focus among grades for 2023 wide receivers, with a 91.2. That was behind Tyreek Hill, who earns an average of $30 million per year, Brandon Ayuk, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. He was tied with Nico Collins and Jefferson. Jordan Lewis could have a career year in 2024. Jordan Lewis is back for an 8th season in Dallas, re-signing with the Cowboys last March. The cornerback is currently slated to play the slot, and circumstances could lead to a career year for Lewis given his history as a playmaker. With Trevon Diggs returning from injury and Darren Bland coming off his record-breaking All-Pro breakout in 2023, the outside CB spots are covered as well as an NFL team could hope for. Dallas was content to not re-sign Stephon Gilmore this offseason, instead hanging on to Lewis at a little under $3 million for a 1-year deal. While Gilmore remains available in free agency, the Cowboys have given no indication that they intend to extend that relationship. While there are still some younger prospects like Israel Mukuamu, Eric Scott, and Nashan Wright in the mix, plus now 5th-round rookie Kalen Carson, Lewis is the heavy favorite to join Diggs and Bland in the top 3. He is especially viable as the slot corner given his fearlessness as a tackler and proven ability to stay with shifter receivers. And in 2024, given the 2 All-Pros he'll be playing with, Lewis could see a spike in his big plays. Lewis has had at least 1 interception every year but 2020, the Cowboys' single-season disaster under Mike Nolan. He had a career-high 3 picks the following season plus 11 pass deflections, arguably his best year to date. He missed 11 games in 2022 due to a foot fracture, but returned strong last year, with 3 forced fumbles highlighting the season. He's also been able to do damage blitzing from the slot, registering 8.5 sacks since 2019. Turning 29 in August, Lewis is no spring chicken, especially at cornerback. But his game has always been more about technique and toughness than athleticism, which have a longer shelf life, closer to the line of scrimmage. He will certainly get tested if Diggs and Bland are their usual selves on the outsides, no doubt driving more targets toward Lewis Man. The opportunities could go either way, but the positive view is even more chances for Lewis to create turnovers. Everyone on the Cowboys' defense has to adjust to changes from Mike Zimmer, replacing Dan Quinn as coordinator. But Zimmer has generally had carbon monoboride-friendly schemes, and Micah Parsons will still be up front leading the pressure on opposing quarterbacks. Forced throws and errant decisions will still be there, and Lewis has the ability to cause some regrets. We'll see how age, scheme changes, and other transitions into a new season affect Jordan Lewis. But while some mourn that Stephon Gilmore wasn't re-signed, they shouldn't sleep on Lewis' worthiness to fill out the top 3 on Dallas' CB depth chart. He's going to put in ideal circumstances to succeed and could very well have his most productive season yet.